everyone. Welcome to the Women in Motorsports first show of 2023. Joe Samaniego here, along with Ben Schneider and Daniel Rosario from Racers, the girls behind the helmet. We encourage everyone to click on the links below to their channel website and be sure to subscribe, share your comments and questions with us right here on the air. And especially, this is the first show of 2023. That means we have a lot of shows in 2023 up ahead, and we're very excited to have you, including in the chat room, Dimas. Yo, yo, yo. Hey, what's up, guys? Dimas, we're very excited to have you tuning in to our show again each and every week, and encourage everyone be sure to share your comments and your opinions because we're going to be talking about the 2022 season, some of the drivers that stood out, and 2023, the drivers to watch. Daniel, we know in Europe, a lot of racing this past year. You were traveling all over from Italy, north, south, all over the place. Jamie Chadwick, a lot of people followed her, the W Series. Very easy to talk about her, and we'll talk about her later in the show. What are some of the drivers you saw that really stood out in 2022?
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Joe. And let me just say that I'm really happy to be again here on this program for this new year. Hope everyone had a good start today. Yes, I think you are very right. Jamie Chadwick was obviously one of the big names of last year, but I wrote a piece in the past couple of days as a season review, as often is the case towards the end of the year. I wrote that it was a year of for sports car racing for women in motorsport. Obviously, it was a massive year. Let's talk about Iron Dames, for example. It really was the year where they started to deliver great results. I mean, it was a kind of expected after a couple of years of them really progressing through the ranks of the major sports car championships like WEC, European Le Mans Series. And obviously now joining also the GT World Challenge Europe, and they will be doing IMSA also this year in 2023. So obviously hopefully they will carry momentum. But 2022 was really the year where Iron Dames started to win races. So that really put them on the global stage. They put the names out there for the not only just people following their journey, but also the mainstream audience started to recognize the immense work that Deborah Meyer and Iron Links team put into this project. So for sports car and endurance racing, it was a great season because really also on the success, building on the success of Iron Dames, also more projects were started for all female teams that will also take part this year in some GT championships in GT4 and GT3. And also more female drivers starting to recognize endurance racing as a viable path for them to make the jump from single seaters. So we will increasingly see more drivers getting into LMP3, into LMP2, because they really start to see endurance and sports cars as a path for them to succeed. Well, on the other hand, we had single seaters where it was not so a great year for women there. Of course, we had Jamie Chadwick doing extremely well. We are very happy for her to be finally progressing and stepping up from W Series. Now, obviously, we will talk about her later, as Joe mentioned. Her incredible season in W Series really was something, also great also for Jamie Chadwick standards. Of course, she had won more championships in the past years and two in W Series. So that was something. But apart from Jamie, I think we struggle a little bit for other drivers in a single seater. It was a good season for Maya Vego in Italian Formula 4, for example. But obviously with W Series having to halt their operations before they even finishing their championship, that also highlighted how work still must be done for women in motorsport in single seater, especially because really also the drivers, some of the most successful female drivers there, quite struggle to progress up the ranks towards the ladder of Formula One, for example, but also INDYCAR, except for Jamie. So I think we had this year of sports car from one side, hugely successful, and on building on the success of Iron Dames. I think we will see more momentum for them in sports car racing. But on single seaters, on the other hand, we will some more work will have to be done to ensure that the most successful drivers do actually progress up the ranks.
Yeah, as you said, when it came to the endurance racing, the Iron Danes like Michelle Gadden, Sarah Bovey, Dorian Penn stole the headlines, made a lot of progress. Single seater is going to be really interesting, as you said, in 2023, and see what are going to happen out there. Now, of course, here in the United States, we have still a lot of drivers to talk about. One of them, of course, that gained a lot of attention this year was Brittany Force. Here is making his Grid Network debut, AJ Appeal from Racing Refresh, with a recap of Brittany Force, a two-time NHRA champion.
Hello, friends. For those of you who don't know me, I'm AJ Appeal, administrator of Motorsports brand Racing Refresh. I carry credentials in NHRA, NASCAR, INDYCAR, and Formula E. When I'm not at the track, I spend my time based out of Columbus, Ohio. Racing Refresh is on location anywhere, but our hub is here in town, and what we refer to as Studio 1396. To learn more about what we do, follow me on Twitter at Racing Refresh, or visit racingrefresh.com. The majority of my 2022 season focused on NHRA. If you followed my content, it was easy to see a focus on 3 veteran funny car drivers: John Force, Ron Capps, Robert Height. I was fortunate to spend time with these drivers and learn about them all year long, which made it a bit more of a guided analysis than my work typically is. While these male athletes are often among the most popular in the sport, some elite young ladies demanded as much attention for their tenure in the garage and their on-track performances this season. 2022 NHRA Camping World Series Top Fuel champion Brittany Force earned her second career championship and first since her historic debut to the throne back in 2017. She won the title at the Auto Club Finals in Pomona in November of last year. A tough battle in the summer hinted that her trending threat of Justin Ashley may sit on top at the end of the year, and many other cameras and microphones aimed at the forever champion of Steve Torrance. He wears a hat like me. She hung on at the end, though, and moves herself into a prestigious group of multiple champions in Top Fuel. Her season included monstrous new records all over. A career-best 5 victories and 10 number 1 qualifiers made her season memorable for a very long time. Her season was memorable forever, though, because of her consistent speed that earned her all 10 of the top 10 speeds in Top Fuel history. I spoke to her in Indianapolis last month, and she smiled after being told congratulations, saying simply, "Thank you. That means a lot." I saw Brittany speak to hundreds of other fans, media, and drivers at the PRI Auto Show in Indianapolis. She graciously accepted everyone's compliments, while never discrediting the hard work of her leader, Grubnick, and the team, their sponsors, or the family. To defeat drivers like Justin Ashley and Tron Brown and her new threat of a teammate in Austin Prock so consistently and remain focused each week, that's no accomplishment. Some are impressed with what she has done, but I think it's easier to get invested in the hypothetical. What will she do in the future? Because she's not done yet, folks. Coming in the future of this program, I'll offer my thoughts on 2022 NHRA Pro Stock champion Eric Enders as she celebrates her 5th national title. Until then, World Series.
Now, Ben, we have a lot of racing, of course, throughout the United States. NHRA is one of them. One of the things we saw this past year, especially in ARCA, a lot of female racers, of course, Truck Series, INDYCAR, we had Tatiana Calderon. For you, which racers stood out in 2022?
Well, overall, my answer would be the Iron Dames team and Jamie Chadwick. I'll certainly defer to you and Daniel on that one since you cover them a lot more extensively than I do. But here I'm in the States thinking about some of America's top female racers and the IndyCar Series, Truck Series, ARCA, like you mentioned, Joe. Obviously I did that guest piece for Daniel's website last month, and put that together. I've got to say, I'm really impressed by Katie Hedinger. I know there's not too much to go off of yet because she's only 15 years old. She's only made a couple of starts, but the opportunity she got to run North Wilkesboro, I think that was a great deal of publicity for her in her young career, and that I think might have helped lead to the opportunities that she got with Young's Motorsports towards the end of the ARCA West season. So she's got a really good deal lined up with Chevrolet. She's going to be doing some more late model races this year. In fact, I think she's got a race coming up this weekend, actually, at New Smyrna. So we'll see if that leads to any more East or West opportunities for her in 2023. Obviously, I think the feel-good story of the year was Bridget and Sarah Burgess racing together at the Las Vegas Bull Ring. And Bridget, I think, we'll see if she comes back next year. I know she's kind of posted some mixed messages on her Twitter account as to what her plans might be for 2023. But I think, if she had the equipment of, say, a Bill McAnally or a Sunrise Ford racing team on the road courses, I don't think it's a stretch to say she'd be a threat to win with how impressive she's been on those tracks for the last couple of years. And then, of course, obviously, everybody's got their eyes on Hailie Deegan. It wasn't quite as much of a step forward as I would have liked to have seen in 2022, but she does have ThorSport equipment and a great deal of veteran teammates and a great presence of support around her heading into this new season. And of course, Ford will still be backing her in Truck Series this year. So we're really hoping to see a step forward again on the part of Hailie Deegan going into 2023.
Yeah, Hailie Deegan, of course, a lot of attention. The Xfinity Series debut, that was definitely one of the high spots of the year for her. And then, of course, Bridget Burgess. We were both there in Portland where we saw, despite not having a windshield wiper in that torrential rain, had a great run. And then in the second time, great run until a mechanical issue ruined her day. A lot more to discuss about when it comes to 2022, but we'll go back to AJ as he's going to just bring up another driver, Erica Enders, who did something very spectacular, becoming a 5-time champion in the National Hot Rod Association.
First-time fans think Erica and Courtney Enders as the young ladies featured in a Disney movie in the early 2000s. Those who watched them work just once realize, though, that their success and ethic is well rehearsed. But this is no movie. Courtney works more behind the scenes most of the time and wears many hats. Erica, on the other hand, has gotten used to wearing lots of hats, the many colored hats provided to her when she wins in the NHRA Camping World Pro Stock Division. Similar to early year's Brittany Force feature, 2022 season claimed record-high success for Pro Stock driver Enders. She also ran the fastest pass in history for her division. This was by far her greatest career season. Pro Stock only runs 19 races on the current schedule. Enders won 10 of them. In 64 rounds of competition, she only lost 9 times. She became only the second driver to win at Norwalk in consecutive seasons other than Larry Dixon and amassed 6 number 1 qualifiers. NHRA's marketing branding includes terms like "speed lives here," and they brag about entertainment they provide to their fans compared to other forms of racing. If you buy a ticket to an NHRA national touring event, it's a pit pass. Every ticket's a pit pass. You can go up and sign autographs and see your drivers, and then, of course, you're promised entertainment on the track. Enders brought the best for the track, but she also entertained fans back home all year long. Her rarely identified rivalry with Elite Motorsports teammate Aaron Stanfield could have itself been a movie called Deep Staging. While the tempers of teams increased at times, the audiences loved it. And talk about dominating the ratings. Greg Anderson won his 100th race of his career. After starting the season off slower than he had hoped, he overcame the stress of being the reigning 2021 champion and really stepped up to the plate against Enders the second half. Their battles were some of the best in all of racing. I asked Enders heading into the countdown what it felt like to think she was nearing 5 titles, halfway to legendary Bob Glidden's 10. She actually humored with me a little bit, but she stayed humble. NHRA national events are ageless, though. I think it is safe to say she could do it. Now, I'm not making any crazy predictions. Who knows what the next decade or more looks like, or even for her career. But I promise you can count on Erica being just as competitive heading into 2023 as she was last season. Look for her newly sponsored Skag Power Equipment Camaro to take the point many times. Finally, an honorable mention. I proudly voted for 2022 Rookie of the Year Camry Caruso. She turned heads all year and deserves the victory. Keep your eyes on that young lady. Blink, and you'll miss her. Until next time, I'm AJ Appeal.
And we thank AJ for his time and encourage everyone to check out Racing Refresh. Of course, the National Hot Rod Association, they don't start till March, so quite some time off before we see Camry Caruso, Erica Enders, Brittany Force, and all the other racers in the NHRA return back. But before we start looking to 2023, a couple of drivers I feel stood out to me. One has to be Julia Landauer, her debut in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. A lot of fans, especially on social media, were really excited to see her. Fortunately, that debut race didn't go that great, but her second race, fans were happy to see her log the laps, and hopefully we'll see her in the track a lot more. Amber Balkan, she had that streak of top 10 finishes in a row going in the ARCA series. Of course, with smaller car count, but still, that's always impressive when you could have a streak like that. And then one driver, I think, is with the Iron Dames, we talked about time after time, Dorian Pinn, what she did this year, just massively accomplished. And Daniel, I know when it comes to 2022, you have a really wonderful piece about all the women in motorsports in 2022.
Yeah, we did our top 10 as it's now the third year in a row that we published this top 10 list. We asked all the people that they wanted to cooperate on our website to nominate their top 10. And we put together this list. So apologies on drivers that didn't make the list, but were equally inspiring this year. We had the top 10 and then a long list of special mentions because we felt like there were a lot of great drivers really doing some great stuff. And we mentioned, for example, Julia Landauer that you just mentioned, and she was also kind to share our article on her social media. Amber Balkan as well in ARCA. She really made the most out of the equipment that she had. But our top 10 was, as you can see here, Jamie Chadwick, of course, winning most of the W Series races last year in W Series and taking her third championship title. Clara Anderson really stood out in her first season in the World Rallycross Championship and in Extreme E, where she only contested 2 races, but she was on the podium twice and won a race. Dorian Pan, obviously winning the Ferrari Challenge and making her major debut in sports car, in ELMS, in GT World Challenge, was part of the winning team at Spa-Francorchamps in the 24-hour race. Sarah Bovey, she had a couple of pole positions. She was really one of the great drivers in Iron Dames. Well, I would say all of the Iron Dames lineup would deserve to be on our top 10 list last year. But really, Sarah Bovey did great as a bronze-rated driver, masterful in qualifying. Miki Koyama took the win in the Formula Regional Japan Championship. Was the first woman to ever win a FIA single-seater championship, mixed gender. Then we saw Taylor Hagler taking her second win in the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge TCR championship. Ashton Harrison won a debut in GT World Challenge America and in GT3, and she will now switch to IMSA. Mikaela Olin-Kotulinski, also another great driver that she won in every race and every categories and cars that she contested races last year. She was winning races in Extreme E, where she led the championship for most of the season. She made her GT4 debut and won straight away two race weekends as a guest driver, and she won both of the race weekends. She was in Rallycross and in Nitro Rallycross, and she won her first race. I mean, another pretty great driver there. Sophia Flörsch, I mean, she had a very, very unlucky season, but she really showed that she can make the difference in LMP2 machinery. So hopefully she will, she will have better luck in 2023. But really, she showed that she deserved podiums on she had podium-wise pace for for every race that she entered this year. And Belen Garcia also made our top 10 list because she did really great in W Series, and especially after she didn't make the top 8 last year. So she really had to qualify again for the championship. Impressed in testing, made again the grid, performed really well. She was in the top 5 at the end of the season with a podium, her first podium. But then most of all, I think importantly, she also is one of the drivers, together with Rima Jafali, that we mentioned as one of the best moments also of the year. That they show that that there is life after single seaters, after open wheel racing. They towards the end of the year, Belen Garcia really made her debut in LMP3, and she will probably switch over to sports cars this year. She will do the Asian Le Mans series to start with, and to prepare for her European campaign later on. And she showed that there is some more after single seater. So also she's showing the way to other female drivers that to be competitive and to be a professional driver, there's no need to continue on in single seater, but you can also find your way in sports car racing. So those were our top 10, and also we voted for the top 3 moments, and we obviously everyone voted for Iron Dames winning the 24-hour Spa. Was one of the major successes for women in motorsport and for the team. Samantha Tan Racing and Samantha Tan, of course, the driver owner, winning the 12-hour of Mugello and becoming the first driver to bring the new BMW M4 GT3 to global victory. And then Rima Jafali, that she launched her own team, Thiba Motorsport, based in Saudi Arabia. And she took victory straight away at the first race in International GT Open. So those were our top 10 and our top 3 moments of the year.
Definitely some big moments. I encourage everyone to visit the link on the video description to read the top 10, some of the best moments, and of course some of the honorable mentions there as well. Question in the chat room from Dimas: do you know Rima Jaffar's debut with Jaguar that Pace E-Trophy in 2018? I know it's been a while, but yeah, that was something pretty interesting to see when we had those. I believe that was the electric car series, correct?
Yes, it was. It was a series that ran as a support series of Formula E, which was so far the only support series of Formula E. It was a great series. Also, Celia Martin, for example, had her debut in sports car racing there. And Rima, that's very correct. Rima Jafali made her international debut there, and she was also in that race in Saudi Arabia. Was the very first woman to race professionally in Saudi Arabia. So that was quite an historic moment.
Very historic moment. And of course, definitely 2023. Hopefully, we're going to see a lot more historic moments. One of the things I think a big moment everyone's going to be watching has to be Jamie Chadwick and how she's going to debut in the Indy NXT series, of course, formerly known as Indy Lights. She's going to be driving for Andretti Autosport in 2003 in Indy NXT. Now, we've heard of differences. We're talking from Linus Lundgaard, other drivers, of how Indy NXT car is much more different than a Formula 4, Formula 3 car, just because of that difference of the horsepower, slipping and sliding, where in the other series, you want to be more taking care of those tires. Of course, she is the only W Series champion out there. She's going out, venturing to another series where a lot of people are going to be following her. And in fact, even in the big announcement from Andretti Autosport, they put there, she is the W Series champion that nobody could beat in the W Series. One of the big things, going to Indy NXT, you're in the Indy ladder system, that sometimes could result in a person going into INDYCAR. Daniel, starting with you. What are some of the realistic goals for Jamie Chadwick in Indy NXT? And would you be surprised if later in the season, an announcement about her having a seat in a one-off race in the INDYCAR in late 2023 or 24 for a few rounds?
Well, that would be awesome. But for the moment, I think we shouldn't really be putting too much pressure on Jamie, at least at the beginning, and see how she progresses, because we also have to to remember that this is a very different car from what she's driven so far. She is still a relatively junior stage in her career because she started quite late into single seaters. She started first in GT cars because she was doing Ginetta in the UK, and then she became the youngest ever British GT champion in GT4. So she went GT racing, and then later on she switched to single seater. So in single seater, it's still a relatively young age in her career. And so that's a big step forward for as a car point of view, because of course the Indy NXT is much closer to a Formula 2 car than what she's driven till today. So I think she will have really to learn the car and the tracks, because of course it's going to be all new tracks for her. She's never raced on US soil. So at the beginning, I think we should just give her some time to learn and to give her the time to progress. But of course, if not put too much pressure on her, but of course, if she's ready, if she shows that she's ready for sitting in IndyCar, well, that would be great. That's awesome. I think 1 year, it's to learn. Really, the second year, I think she should, start getting podiums and win races, and then we can talk about IndyCar in 2025. But if anything happens earlier than that, well, that would be cool.
Well, I just want to apologize in advance for whenever I inevitably say Indy Lights on the Encore show this year. I don't know how long it's going to take me to get used to Indy Next or Indy NXT, whatever we're calling it now. We talked about that on the show towards the end of last year. You can go check out that clip on my YouTube channel if you want me, Brandon, and Casey's thoughts on that rebrand as a whole. But as for Jamie Chadwick, Daniel, I think you hit the nail right on the head there. I think, maybe if she has a fantastic season and sets the world on fire and adapts to the car really quickly, maybe you can talk about a 2024 Indy 500 one-off entry. But I think if you want to talk about a full-time run in the IndyCar series, you really have to give her time to adapt to the car. I mean, it's important to remember that, the Chris Griffiths test, she was a little bit off the pace. Now that's to be expected because it's her first time in the car. She's just trying to get a feel for it, but it's going to take some time to get used to making the change from a W Series chassis to an Indy Next car. So I think that, we really have to look at 2023 as a learning year for her. Of course, she has a great track record in the W Series. That'll help her, as a confidence booster. But I think 2024 is really the year where you look at her competing for race wins in a championship, assuming she has a good time, learning the car and developing in 2023. And then, Daniel, like you mentioned, 2025 and beyond, that's when we can start looking at potential IndyCar opportunities for her, assuming everything goes well.
Now, Ben, you talk about both you and Daniel giving her the time, progress, all that. One driver I know we've, particularly in Grid Encore, has been talked about, as well as this show, Hailie Deegan, stay in the trucks. Grid Tonight, you mentioned about the need, how it's become a little bit more urgent now, third year, to show some significant progress, especially with the team and the teammates she has there. ARCA Menard Series has several female drivers, such as Amber, Tony, Bridget Burgess, who was in the ARCA Menards West. You mentioned Katie Hedinger, made her debut in 2022, up-and-coming racer, very successful over at Hickory. Who do you believe will have a big shot at improving more in 2023? Still getting used to the new years here. And will you be surprised if we see any of the racers, instead of going just ARCA only, maybe planning a Truck Series one-off race or even potentially an Xfinity Series race?
Well, I'm sure Hailie Deegan would love to do a couple more Xfinity races, so I'd keep my eye on that. It's interesting. Truck Series deals sometimes come together as one-offs pretty quickly. I think Tony Breidinger wanted to do a couple in 2021. If I recall correctly, those ended up not happening. Logan Misaraka actually was going back and forth with Marcus Lemonis on Twitter in 2021 as well. She was trying to get some funding for her career and was talking about the ARCA series. Marcus said, well, why not just come racing trucks? And they put a couple of concept schemes together. That ultimately didn't happen either. And now Camping World's out of a series, so I don't know what her plans will be for the new year. I know she wants to do some more ARCA races this season. But I guess I'll just go down the list. What you mentioned here, Joe, it's going to be interesting. I think there might be some driver musical chairs between Amber Balkan and Tony Breidinger's rides. She announced plans to compete in the GR Cup for Toyota. I think she still wants to do some ARCA races, but it's not confirmed yet. But I've been hearing rumors, and I think they gained some momentum last night that Amber Balkan could be on the way to Venturini Motorsports. Ideally, I would think probably sliding into the 25 car to take Tony Breidinger's seat. And then, of course, these rumors have been gaining some momentum as well. It looks like Malcolm in the Middle star Frankie Muniz might finally get his ARCA opportunity and take the Rhett Jones car that Balkan drove this year. So that would be huge publicity for the ARCA series as well. Of course, we don't know what Bridget Burgess's plans are for 2023. If she comes back, I assume she's still going to be driving for her own family's team. Sarah will probably be back as her crew chief, but we'll keep our eyes on that. Who else did you have on this list here for me, Joe? Katie Hedinger, I guess we talked about her a little bit as well. Still very early in her career, so I'm sure she'll get a couple more part-time opportunities here as well, whether that's in the West Series or whatever opportunities Chevrolet or a team like Rev Racing might have for her. And then one driver I would also keep my eye on. I know she's not doing, she's not in this world yet in terms of what her schedule is, but I've really been impressed with Kaylee Bryson. What she's done in the USAC divisions, and we got the Chili Bowl coming up again in a couple of weeks' time. There was a press release that came out last month that said she might be looking at some NASCAR, maybe even INDYCAR opportunities as well. She's going to be doing some Trans Am racing this year to add to her schedule and doing that as well. So, she's obviously got to deal with Toyota Racing Development. And it sounds like, from what I'm hearing, they're going to take care of all the business aspects of her career, so she won't have to spend time searching for sponsorships. So she seems to be well set for the 2023 season coming up here. I keep my eye on her.
Quite a lot of drivers to keep an eye on. And, of course, as you mentioned, the musical chair, definitely Grid Encore for all ARCA Xfinity Truck Series coverage. That's the place to go. Now, of course, one series is going to be another feeder system under the F1 ladder, the Formula One F1 Academy. Of course, that was announced late last year. We know the teams are going to be in there. That has been announced. We don't know yet about the drivers. W Series, we know their season came to an early end. They're still active on social media. We know they're working on a plan to get back in 2023. Still no word yet. Daniel, what do we know about the status of the W Series so far and how F1 Academy is shaping up so far in 2023?
Not much about either of these two championships, because, of course, after the announcement of the all-new F1 Academy, we've really heard not many details about that. Of course, the teams have been announced, which is great. 5 really top team that are racing in Formula 2 and in Formula 3. So really good teams that have a history of bringing up the ladder some of the greatest talents in single seaters in Europe. So that's really good. That's a good selection of teams. But apart from that, we haven't heard any other details about that. No drivers announced yet. No calendar announced yet. What we hearing is that of the 7 rounds, only one will be together with F1. So we are still trying to understand where the other rounds will be contested together with which series. But not many details really announced about F1 Academy. We know that there will be Formula 4 cars. Also, that was announced. The tire manufacturer also will be Pirelli. But apart from that, not much happening. Well, a lot happening behind the scenes, but not much announced. Same for W Series. They are working really hard. As you mentioned, they are absolutely active on social media. They're trying to keep the brand alive. But nothing has been announced yet of plans to resume on-track activities. We do know that some of the drivers that were racing on the grid of W Series last year, some of them are moving away from that championship, and some others are looking into other options. So I don't know what that would mean for W Series if they're trying to scout other group targets or any other explanation, but not much being announced openly so far.
Well, Daniel, I saw you mentioned in our private chat here, Stephanie Moyer as well. I want to circle back just real quick and forgot to mention her 4th place in the ARCA East standings last year. It's the highest ever finish for a female driver. So definitely want to give my congratulations to her. That was certainly a highlight of last season in ARCA. But to follow up on what you and Joe were talking about here with F1 Academy and the W Series, forgive me if we've talked about this before because, I'm just trying to follow all of it. You're obviously much more immersed in that world. It seems to me, with W Series kind of being aligned with Formula One as a support series and being at the same tracks for most of their schedule last year, why wouldn't Formula One just invest more money in the W Series or buy the W Series outright rather than starting their own almost competing series while the W Series is struggling financially and ultimately had to end their season early last year? It seemed to me an easier path for everybody would just be to try to take what you already have with the W Series Foundation and invest in that. Why did they insist on starting something brand new with F1 Academy?
That's a great point that everyone also is bringing up, because of course to everyone, you have a project like W Series that was a very good project at the beginning. When it was with DTM, it really worked well. It was growing. Obviously, they really had to work more on the marketing side and also on the TV deals, but it was working. Obviously, they had also to work more on the business side, because of course they wouldn't been sustainable forever. To not ask drivers money and not bringing in some big sponsorship money. But apart from that obviously that needed some work. On the sporting side of things, it was interesting. And you're perfectly right. I mean, F1, you had already in your support ladder a important product. Why starting a new one? Well, they say that they are not actually competing, but that they can survive together, because one is more targeted to drivers at Formula 4 level, because of course they will actively scout at Formula 4 level with Formula 4 cars, while W Series is more of a Formula 3 regional. So you have that. Obviously, you will ideally F1 Academy would be a stepping stone to W Series, but we also know that this is not really the case at the beginning, because you have one series that is supported financially by the FIA and Liberty Media and Formula One, and the other one that is a private operation, which is W Series. So it's kind of a mess, and to me that honestly it just felt like a political move from F1 to create their own series without having necessarily to put money into a private project.
Definitely, it's going to be really interesting to see what happens in 2023 with the F1 Academy, W Series, and of course we're going to be following that throughout 2023 right here on the Grid Network. And of course, for all the latest when it comes to female racers in motorsports, be sure to visit the website Racers Behind the Helmet. As you can see the little countdown clock, we're 7 days away from the 24 hours of Dubai. All bunch of articles, including Daniel's top 10 list. Be sure to join the mailing list. And the best feature, of course, you just go to the calendar and you see all the upcoming races for the 2023 year. And of course, we're going to be following it all right here on the Women in Motorsports. And a couple of comments in the chat room I see from Dimas asking, when are we going to do the season opening show for the Formula E Series? Well, guess what? We're going to next Saturday with Grid Live pre-race. We're back on the air for Saturday. Of course, they're going to be in Mexico City, so that's going to be really exciting to welcome back the Formula E Series and start getting things kicked off for the grid ranking in 2023. And overall, I think this is going to be a really fun year, and we encourage everyone to invest in the Grid Network through Patreon. Call the show Mark and Robin. They all invest in us. And if we could get to one big goal of $500 a month, we could be sending people to the track more consistently for on-site coverage of each and every event. So be sure to click on the links in the video description. And you can do buy me a coffee, where you can do a one-time investment to the Grid Network, or directly by your favorite on-air personality, a cup of coffee. And of course, we encourage everyone, be sure to follow us on social media. We're posting our opportunities on LinkedIn. If you want to have a career when it comes to motorsports journalism, follow us on Grid Ranking on Twitter. And then, of course, on YouTube, be sure to hit that bell icon. It's a great first step to subscribe, but that bell icon, you'll be notified once we go on the air. Before we go, Daniel, Ben, thank you so much for being on the show. When it comes to 2023, if we had to describe the excitement level or any driver that you feel is going to be one to watch, just one driver, who's the one main driver you're going to watch?
Starting with?
I would say I'll go first, just since I threw the question out there. One driver I'm going to watch for 2023 is going to be Amber Balkan. If she goes to Venturini Motorsports, seeing that streak of top 10s finishes, I anticipate I will not be surprised if we see her at least in victory lane one time.
Go ahead, Daniel.
I'll say Dorian Pan.
Yeah, well, I just talked a little bit during my last segment, but I would say Kaylee Bryson's one to watch.
Those are 3 drivers to watch. Definitely, of course, we're going to have a lot more throughout 2023. We want to thank everyone for tuning in. For Daniel Zeri, Racers, the Girls Behind the Helmet, Ben Schneider from Ben Schneider's YouTube channel, which is a link in the video description, and Joe Santiago, myself. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time, and enjoy the weekend. Thank you for watching us right here on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe. Help us get to 500 subscribers before the Daytona 500. 2023 is going to be a really fun season. We want you to be part of it. All our live programs, plus special programs such as Roundtable and Life on the Grid. Click on the links to see some of our great videos right here on the Grid Network.